So Millie, when are you going to open your restaurant again?
Yeah, again. We're doing soft trials and training this week, and next week, hopefully, we will have all of our ducks in a row. Yeah.
Nice. Look forward to it.
All right, we are live. So that announcement probably was in the news. That's great, Millie.
Woo!
So welcome to the Northborough Historic District Commission meeting for May 19th, 2021. I'm Norm Corbin, and I'm the chair of the Northborough Historic District Commission. Let me read through the policies we have for this Zoom meeting. This open meeting of the Historic District Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public hearings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Historic District Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Historic District Commission to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to the Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Thank you. All righty, so let me pull up the agenda and see where we are. Get you guys there. Hi, Julianne. So, Millie informed me that the prior meeting minutes were not available this evening, so we'll have them available for the next meeting. That would be on end of June. Okay, Millie?
Yes.
Perfect. So the first topic on the agenda is the CPA projects. The first one is the Brigham Street Burial Ground interpretive sign. As I had sent out about 2 weeks ago, the sign has been completely built and it's been installed at the Brigham Street's burial ground. I don't know if any of you had a chance to go look at it. It really came out nice. They did a great job. So if you haven't seen it, please go over and take a look. We spent a lot of time making sure it was coming out right. So
yeah.
In fact, what I did was I saw the Alex and Xenia Molnar voting day, and I asked them if they would be willing to write a small article for Community Advocate on that, and they said they would. So figured they like doing that, and I'm glad they accepted it. So at some point in the near future, they'll put an article together for the Community Advocate to get some press out there. And the second topic is the Howard Street Burial Ground. All right, so the Howard Street Burial Ground, that's the one I want to work with tonight. I sent along some pictures of the one, just for everybody's on the same page. Kill that light. A picture of what's currently there and how it's rotting and it's becoming illegible. So we've had all the design work done on it. We are looking to finish up the wording on it. What Leslie and I have done is taken the Scouts wording. This is where he highlighted certain grave sites, and we went through it and did some editing, made sure the information was correct on the stones. It was a little bit more tedious than I expected, but I think we got it almost 100% correct. But I definitely need other people to look at it with another set of eyes before we give this a go, because once it's made, it's can't make any changes after that. And let me see what I have. If I can do the shared screen.
And Norm, were they going to be able to correct that the gravestone numbering? You had found one error with the gravestone on the map.
Yes, yeah. There. I sent it over to expose, and she was able to somehow cut and paste and correct it with two sequences of some numberings that were out of order.
Oh, good.
But it was good that the numbers were out of order. One was duplicated and then one was missing. So the good news is 215 were not out of order, only about six. So that was an editing problem back 20 years ago. So they fixed it, and that came out.
Norm,
Yes,
is all of the information that you forwarded to us going to be included in the interpretive sign that's going to be a permanent thing there? That's a lot of stuff in there. It's great. Is
Well,
that
that's-
all? Is that all going to be in there, or are you going to have to whittle that down somewhat?
we are only duplicating what's already there.
Oh, wow.
That's all we're doing. And so what was there was a map. Let me see if I can, first I need to see if I can share anything. How come it won't let me get to that?
There was a lot of detail about the people who are buried there, their lives. They had some stuff on. There was a distemper outbreak that caused a lot of the children to die, which was
Yeah, it's all, again, it's just Leslie and I weren't doing any homework. We were just doing editing. But I'm gonna have to ask our technical support to let me share my screen. I can't share my screen. So Jim, if you have a moment, could you make sure I can share my screen? And let's see what we got. I spent a while trying to, usually I print this stuff out, like I said, well, I said earlier, my printer decided it's not gonna work this week, so that's a nuisance. All right, let me see where I am. Oh, yeah. All right. So I cannot share my screen at this point. I think this is part of Jim juggling two of it at the same time. All right.
Do you know, are you selecting the screen share at the bottom with the desktop, sharing the actual desktop?
It says share screen. It's a little green arrow.
Mhm.
And I click on that and it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Huh, so here I will promote you to co-host and that should fix it. But on my end, it's saying that all the permissions are there.
Huh.
Oh, nope, sorry, I was wrong. I have just changed it to all participants. So everybody should be able to screen share at this point.
Good man. Thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not a problem at all, Jim. Believe me. I'm glad you're here. All right, let's see if I can do this. We are looking at this one. Okay, let's do the gravestone notes first. Can anybody see any of this?
Yes.
All right, I'll go to the beginning. Before we start, I do have one question. We have the town seal is on, it's not on this list, but if you go to the map, you see we installed the town seal because the town paid for it with CPA funding. But what was missing is a Boy Scout seal, and I found one. I think we should also put a seal on this, for the Boy Scouts. Since really all the work was all done through the Eagle Scout project. So does that seem to make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Millie, you were good. You sent me a comment, and I'm going to go right to your comment because it's I need a little discussion on that. So you had a comment on 139. So this, if you were just to make sure we're all on the same page, the scout took. Looks like about 20 or 30 gravestones, and on the right-hand side of that installation, he gave a little more information about either the people or what's written on the gravestone. So that's what we're looking at, and that's what I want to identify tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at 139, you can see where it says Captain James, Jeams, which is a typo. It's a typo that's on the stone.
Oh.
So not everybody, and when you make a typo on the stone, you can't go in and fix it.
Oh
So,
my gosh, okay.
so should we leave it? Kind of curious, should we leave it with the typo that's actually on the stone, or should we fix it and say it really should be James?
I would, and I was thinking at it again, I would say let's fix it and put a little note after, because it's kind of a cool historic thing, I guess, that it was wrong, but that we know that it's wrong. So I think I would correct it and make a note of it.
Could we keep it as JEAMS and in parentheses, what is it? You put like SP for spelling problem or something like that? Or is that not the right?
SIC.
SIC, yeah.
I don't know. We can go either way. I kind of like that it's misspelled. And
Yeah,
I kind of like that people are seeing it misspelled. That means somebody's paying attention.
Yeah, it's possible too that, it's not unusual to find either misspelled or the way people were pronounced, things would be spelled the way that people were pronouncing them back then.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's entirely
But it's
possible.
interesting, Millie pointed out on the one below, which is 141, which is the correct spelling of that person.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got a couple of options here. Let's see if we can decide what to do, because that's the only, that's the first thing we wanted to fix. So we got float a couple ideas. Fix it and then put a note that it's spelled wrong, or I can put James. We can put James and I can put in parentheses spelled as JEAMS. Let's see if I can do this.
When you write the sick is the most appropriate way to do it, but I'm
Yeah,
not
that-
sure.
I would vote for
leave the
six.
error. Yeah,
So let me, if I can do this. So you just want me to put SIC in parentheses?
right.
Yeah,
Hopefully no people know what that means.
Something like that?
That's it.
You editors are in agreement?
that works for me.
Okay.
You-
Was there any other keen eye observations with this?
Yeah, you don't put a period after the C.
Oh, it's like sick, just like you're sick?
Yeah, no period.
It's yeah, so I'm looking it up. It's a Latin term, means thus. So it's used
So-
to indicate that something incorrectly written is intentionally being left as it was the original. Sick is usually italicized.
Oh.
Oh, crying out loud. It's a good thing you're top of things.
Here, I'll show you how it's done, at least in this.
How's that? Now I
That's
have
good.
it italicized.
Nice.
Yeah, they actually put it in brackets instead of, I'll show you what.
Well, no, I can do brackets. I think I have that technology here.
Well, I'm
I
just,
think I
here,
have
let
that
me,
technology. Let me not speak up too fast here.
where's the
Where am I?
chat? Do we not have a chat in here?
Oh, I got a bracket.
We don't have a chat in here.
Yeah, that's probably not. All right.
Disable
You say
chat.
do this? Oh, I see. I think you're right. It's much more familiar if I do that.
Yep. There we go.
Something like that?
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Shows in brackets and italicized.
So, did anybody see anything else? Let's say that. What's today's date? 5/19. Because we're pretty much at the end here. Once the cemetery commission says it's okay, I don't think they'll look at it at this level of detail, but they accept that the design and everything is okay, then we're pretty much going to hit the go button to make it.
I thought it was pretty amazing. It's interesting reading what people put on their graves.
Oh, and there's a lot of other things on the, it's an interesting, he only picked up some of them. There's a lot of stuff on a lot of those graves. I know I saw one that talked about how the guy fell off his horse and died. No, so it's not like what we do today.
Yeah.
Let me shut my phone. It's annoying me. There we go. I think it's quiet. All right, so that's the end of that. I'll send that in to Scott and get the thing ordered. We've already voted that we were going to pay the money for it. We've already done that several months back with the quote and everything. So we're in good financial shape with these two interpretive signs.
Great.
All right. Hey, one down. Now we'll get to some other fun things. Let's see. Next on the agenda was the state hospital grounds.
Okay.
Again, since it kicked me out. All right. Okay, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So this, remember we had a special meeting so we could pull this letter together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is the summary of the letter, and I'm just gonna verbally go through what happened from this letter, okay? So the first part was we would like additional documentation regarding the interior condition of the Chauncey Hall building. So myself and Bob Light, it's gonna be 6 weeks ago, us and a contingent of about 6 or 7 other people got a tour inside of the Chauncey Hall building. And I'll show you some pictures. I sent some pictures along, but I can bring them back up. So we could do a walkthrough of the building. It was really, the second floor was set up like a dormitory, small rooms, and then down the hall was the women's room and the ladies' room, and then there was a large, like almost like a common area. The building, you know, there's a lot of peeling paint and stuff like that, but it certainly was nothing that the state could use for what they wanted, which is a maintenance building. We also asked them, is there anything in this building that could be salvaged and used in the new construction that they're planning? But we walked through and it's not that kind of building. It's not like a early 1800 with big beams and stuff like that. It's steel beams and a lot of plaster and yeah. So cinder block and tile and things. It's just not that kind of building. So they were good about that. So the second part is, would like the designers of the new building consider reusing some of the antique materials? No, it really didn't fit that kind of criteria.
Mm.
So on the third dot, we strongly recommend that DCAM have an updated archaeological survey conducted on the 307 acres of the old hospital grounds. So what's come out of that is there was some work done by someone by Hoffman in 1992, which evaluated the property, not just the Northborough property, but the entire state hospital grounds. Someone at the meeting from the Mass Historical Commission had read that document, and I requested a copy of it that could be sent to us. And I sent them a letter almost 3 weeks ago, and I haven't heard back. And I just sent an email a couple of days ago saying I really would like to get a hold of that file just to see what they found in terms of Native American and old colonial findings. So that's still a loose end. That'll come up later. I think that information might be handy when we come up with what we're going to do for future work there for signage.
Okay.
Norm, who'd you send a letter to?
We sent it to, the letter was sent to Breonna Simon. And she's our key contact for a lot. She's our key contact for a lot of things. Without scrolling around, let me see. I don't know what her title is. Oh, here it is. She is the executive director of the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And interesting enough, she did some work in the area regarding archaeological digs back in the day. So she's very familiar with this area. So that's still an outstanding request I haven't seen yet. I think we'll get it. I'm not worried, but I just think like everything else, you have to remind people 2 or 3 times. Then on the next button, the next dot, when we were meeting with them, and then on a previous meeting that they had with Kathy Joubert and John Kader, where they discussed the construction project they wanted, we were getting very confused about who owns what land where. And we said, really, can you send us a map and show us who owns what sections where? And they did send us one. And if I did this right, I can find it. Let's see. Not there. Maybe here. I don't see it here. Let's see. I might have tucked it away somewhere else. The bottom line is there are 3 or 4 different state organizations that are ownership of the land on the Northborough side. Department of Fisheries is one, another department, agriculture, I think it is another, plus DCAM owns some of it for where they want to do the construction, and I think there was a 4th one. The interesting thing that came out of that discussion was that it appeared that some of the land might be available for the town of Northborough. It wasn't clear on the map where that would be, but and John Kadir said that certainly if there's some available land for the town of Northborough, we'd like to know where it is and how we would obtain it. So that's a loose end, but that's where that stands.
So when you say some land might be a bit available for Northborough,
Yeah,
what does that mean actually?
we
Like-
don't know what that means actually. I think it's, trying to remember off the top of my head, I think it's like 300 and some odd acres. Yes, 307 acres. And it wasn't clear what part of that acreage could be available for the town of Northborough. So that's still a loose end. And I'm trying to think where I may have stuck that map. But pretty much all the land was claimed for different parts of the Massachusetts state government. So it's to be determined.
Okay.
So now we're on to mitigation. So we wanted to know what mitigations we could do and where we are with that. So now I am going to switch over to a letter we got from DCAM. So I think I sent this letter out to you guys. This is from Epsilon. They're the company that's been contracted through DCAM to do the evaluations of the property. This is Jeffrey, and Jeffrey was part of our walking tour. So I'm just going to scroll down to the part that involves us, which I've highlighted. So the main thing is the Massachusetts Historical Commission has said that it's what they call adverse effects due to the demolition in consideration of the mitigation alternatives described herein. So the bottom line is the Massachusetts Historical Commission is stating that with all the demolitions that are occurring on that property, because the entire Westboro State property grounds is listed in the National Historic Register, because of the loss of all of the buildings, and in this case, in particular, the ones that are in Northborough, they consider that an adverse effect. So with the adverse effect, then the question is, okay, what kind of mitigation can we give to the town of Northborough, in this case, Westboro? A little piece of the pie is in Westboro still. And that's where we are. So we had a quick discussion on that walkthrough, and this is what's highlighted. They're proposing that they could do some interpretive signs to essentially document the Native American the Native American use of that land, and also the use of that land as the farming community for the Westboro State Hospital. So that's pretty much where we are. What I'd like to discuss today is not the details of what's in those signs, but the concept of what those signs should be. So I'm going to pull up some information. Bob Light, actually, he guided me on this a little bit. He went to the Westboro. He went to the part of the grounds that are in Westboro, because in Westboro, what they did is they built. I'm gonna have to. Let me see if I can do it this way. You guys are, here we go. You're crowding out my view. Can you see my screen at all? Well, let's see. Can you see this image?
No, we're still seeing the document.
Ah, all right. I'm gonna have to, only because I don't know how to do this, I'm gonna stop share. I'm gonna go share screen, and Now do you see something? A gazebo?
Yes, there we go.
Yeah,
So this gazebo is by the lake in Westboro.
Mhm.
I don't know who paid for the gazebo, but on it are 4 historical markers regarding the property on the Westboro side, the real complex of the buildings. And if I can do this, let's see, should be able to do this. Nope, it's not that one. Should be this one, not that one. This one. All right, am I still sharing screen?
Mhm.
yeah.
All right, so there's 4 panels. This is one panel. So there's a lot of information on these slides. So this is what's done on the Westboro side.
We're still just seeing the gazebo now.
You're inside the gazebo now.
No, we're just seeing the gazebo.
Come on. All right. Thank you for telling me that. The shared screen thing has got me a little bit discombobulated. Now?
Going, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we won't go through all 4 of them, but they have 4 of these panels, and each one is essentially a different topic regarding the state hospital grounds. They're actually big. It's like 4 feet by 3 feet panels,
Oh,
and
wow.
they protected them by putting them in the gazebo. So that's one concept. We could probably ask for. I think we might be able to ask for 2 of these panels for the Northborough side. Again, one for the Native American this topic, and one for the farm building topic, which was part of the farms for the state hospital. So that's one option. But I want to show you something else. So I gotta do this, stop the share, because that seems to be the only way it's working for me. Going over here. And Coach, you can't see that, right?
You're not sharing anything yet?
All right. How about now?
Coming. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, in the rock.
Yeah, on the rock. We had the same topic before. When they widened Route 20, the Massachusetts Historical Commission came in and said, okay, they're widening Route 20. They're affecting the historical nature of Route 20 through downtown Northborough, and we are recommending that the people doing the work should provide some mitigation for you guys. So they did 2 things. We got the rock with the plaque on it, and we also got some benches that are actually by the Civil War Memorial. I think we have 2 benches that are by the Civil War Memorial. So this goes back 7, 8 years ago, something like that. I have a close-up of this, but let me see. Let me go back here. For those who haven't really paid attention to this particular one, we'll go here, go here, go here. All right, you seeing that?
Yep.
That's the marker. This is in front of the new old town hall in the center of town. So this is what they had given us before. And this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Those nice panels, even the ones that we're having made, they're very similar to the ones we're having made at the burial grounds. I was told by the manufacturer that they last 20 to 30 years. What you're looking at is going to last 200 years. So since they've done something similar like this before for us, I'm apt to request that they give us this type of a marker, a permanent bronze marker. There's no harm in requesting. They could always say it's too expensive, we can't do it. But if we don't ask, we don't get a no. So I'm looking to, again, I like the other plaques do look nice, but I don't think they're permanent in the kinds of things I like to think of as permanent.
We
So I want
provide
to
the rock.
I'm sorry?
Do we provide the rock?
I think we may have provided the rock. I'm not sure, Tom. That's certainly something that's going to come up.
It's probably more expensive than the plaque.
Well, there's a lot. If DPW provided them, I think they've got them hanging around town. They'll find a way to get a free rock.
Now that 33 miles to Boston Stone is there too, right?
No, the 33 miles to Boston Stone is on East Main Street. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
there. It's on East Main. It's about a mile away.
Yep.
Okay.
So 32
And
miles.
it says, does it say that it's not there? Yeah, it says it the last sentence. It's on East Main Street.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you have a keen eye, it's on East Main Street, but don't drive too fast.
Hmm.
So can you guys give me some input of what we should request? Because I actually have to send them a letter tomorrow.
I agree. Shoot for the moon. Shoot for a bronze one.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to try to ask for two. Again, one for a Native American and one for a farming community. And I'm thinking it would be this kind of verbiage, not nearly as much detail as what they put in on the ones in Westboro. I don't think we have that kind of information. All right. So if that's okay, we'll ask for the best we can possibly ask for, and go from there.
Okay.
Any chance we could get them to spring for, some kind of an indicator sign by the road that these things are there?
Yeah, right now, I think we're at the phase of saying, what do you guys want? I don't think we're going to get anything for a year or more,
Yeah.
because it's going to be locked into the demolitions that they might be starting very soon. It looked like there's some trucks up there this week when I drove by. But it's might be linked in. I'd like to maybe link it into the new construction somehow. So they want to request, they want to know what we want by tomorrow, but it's for something that won't be built for probably 12 months, would be my guess. And then they also want us to provide the wording and any images and stuff like that. So we'll have we'll have a minor, a little bit of a project to get this one done. But
Yep.
We'll shoot for the moon. All right. How are we doing on time, Leslie?
I got 25 minutes.
All right, excellent, excellent. Now we'll switch gears. Stop the share for now. And we will go to preservation plan stuff. All right, let's see. I can get rid of that. Okay. Can you see the table of contents?
Mhm.
All right. So it's probably not the best way to do it, but I keep revising the table of contents as I figure out how we're pulling this thing all together. So I sent you 3 documents to look at, and I'll pull them up separately, but there's 3 documents. One is about, we're in the section here, which is preserving Northborough history. This is the section I've been working on. So there's 3 sections I've written. One a little bit about the Northborough Historical Society, then a little bit about the Community Preservation Act, and then the current status of historical preservation and recognition. Since this last one's the longer one, I'm going to start with that so I can make sure I can get Leslie's input on it. All right. I'm going to hit something now. Let me do the way I know how to do it. Hold on. All right. All right, so this one is current historic preservation protections and recognitions. That some of these titles are coming from the state recommended outline. So some of the titles are just stole those. So the way it is right now, the draft has got first is, and then it has an introduction section. Then I talk about the National Register of Historic Places. And then I go to the local historic districts, because these are all preservation things we've done in town. Then I go to preservation restrictions, which we have some properties. Next is, whoop. All right. We gotta move you guys right in a funny place. There we go. Then there's a section on demolition delay, because that's a preservation activity.
Yep.
Then archaeological sites, they've been documented, so they're with the state, so they've kind of been preserved. Some of the information, that information is preserved, maybe not all the sites, but the ones that they've identified. We have preservation on stone walls and scenic roads. I have a request into MIA from Open Space Committee, because we have open space protection. And if you think, a lot of these open spaces were old farms and woodlots, so there's actual protection of historical land through the Conservation Commission. And then there's other historic recognitions, talking about the different signs around town and the like. And I thought of another one I'm going to put in here. It's going to come up later on in the actual plan, the preservation plan. It has to do with dams. We have one when the inventory was done for the town for all the historical assets in town back in 2008, 2009. Only, and I don't know why, only one dam was included in the evaluation, and it's the dam on the Assabet River by Main Street. If you ever have a chance to look at the master plan, there's something like 15 dams in the town of Northborough. Several of them are flood control dams that were put in, I don't know, 1930s and 60s timeframe, but the rest of them are all historic dams that were associated with old mills. And so I want to recognize that we protected one with, a demolition delay. And then I think what we would probably do at some point is have either a professional or do it ourselves, document all the other dams in town that are historical in nature. So that's kind of an added one that's not on here yet, but should be. All right, so I'll go back to the beginning. What were your general comments? Can you think of things that were missing, or things that aren't in the right order, or something like that?
Well, as an architect, I'd like to see more mention of historic buildings with architectural character.
Okay, so something that's particularly of interest with the architecture.
Correct.
Okay.
Separate from the historic interests.
Okay, so that would be, so I sent you the Macris database, right, Tom? Could you
Yes.
finally open it? So it would be pretty much going through there and finding some unique structures and that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, we have several that are from the early 1730s.
Yeah.
Dr. Ball's house on Main Street, Livermore Farm up on Green
Oh,
Street.
on Green Street, yeah.
500 Green Street, yeah. And, well, the aqueduct.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful library, that's part of the library movement of the 19th century. It's a critical phase when we transition from Richardsonian Romanesque towards the Renaissance revival. So that's a very early example of that. I mean, there are many pieces in town that I think they need to get their due.
So essentially it's a, I would probably expand the section here that says on the demolition delay, because most of them are protected right now through the demolition delay.
Correct.
All right. If you seem to be pretty keen on this kind of information as the resident architect in our group, would you be comfortable writing just a couple of paragraphs and highlighting some of the key architectural buildings or specific designs? I know there's a lot of, like my home, there's a lot of colonial homes built in the early 1800s. There's a population of those too. That's a good idea, Tom.
Yeah, there's some styles that don't get a lot of attention, but they're unique to the United States, like the shingle style on Main Street. There's some buildings. There's what's called the I House, which started in the Mid-Atlantic states, which we have quite a few very nice examples. So there's a lot of richness that doesn't really get much attention.
I think that's a great idea. And there's also the Wipsnicki House that is up off of Howard Street, Greens. Is it Howard Street at that point? I think that's Howard Street up on the hill. It is kind of like a Francis Lloyd Wright design. We actually have it in the inventory.
Oh, Whippinsecki or whatever.
Whipsnicki,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's right near my house.
Yes, up the hill, and it's yeah, Tom. I really would be great if you could just pull something together and we could just cut and paste that right on in. That's a great idea.
How about the Spite House, just because of the story behind it, or is that not?
Yeah, I mean that's. If my gut feeling is probably let's that comes under a really old home also. Let's have Tom get a crack at it and see what he thinks is important, because I don't have a clue as to what the different designs are and what would make the most sense. But and when he gets a crack at it, we always have comments. So
What year was the Whippinsecki, or however you pronounce it? Was that old enough to be historic?
oh yeah, it's over 50 years old.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It all has to be as old as 50, and I think it's 1930s time frame. We put it in the inventory.
wow, okay.
We picked out when the inventory was being worked on. We found some houses built in the 1900s that meet the 50-year-old criteria that were very unique.
Right. Okay.
So we didn't call that 100-year thing cast in stone. I think there was 2 or 3 buildings. Like for example, the current town hall was built in the 30s, but we added that in because it's a unique property in town. So I can hold you to that, Tom.
Certainly. What's my deadline?
Huh? What's your deadline? Let's see. One of the beauties with the historical commission is, in many cases, these things are around for a while. This is going to be our preservation plan for 2022. I cannot see this being all I's dotted and T's crossed before the end of the year. And we also have to have planning board look at it and a few other people. So if you can do this before the end of the summer, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Because I'm still working on some of these other sections, so that would be perfect. What else are you doing, Tom?
I'm still self-employed,
Yeah. Does anything else drop out that we should expand or I may have missed?
Is there a space on there to mention things like the Native American trails or any of those types of historical interests?
I definitely have, in terms of the markers, I have a section on other historic recognition, which is going to be a list of all of the historic markers. So, because we have the Native American marker, I don't remember in the historic part of, I don't remember, when we wrote about the Northborough history, that is missing. And I think Bob Light picked it up, that we don't have anything about the Native Americans in Northborough. And that should definitely be in there. And that was more under the history of the town. We haven't preserved much other than that marker in terms of Native American history. But then again, it does also come under, depending what they found, we have, I take that back. I have that section on archaeological sites, which is really pretty much focused on the Native American findings, Millie.
Okay.
So it'll come up in some areas that way.
Okay.
All right, so the next time, I'm working on other sections right now, and the next time you see this, it will be in a Word format, and it'll be for starting to do serious editing, making sure my sentences are appropriate and the flow is correct. All right, so now we've done that one. Let me see, stop share, over here. And now we'll do reshare. All right. You should be looking at one that says Community Preservation Act.
Yep.
All right. Again, this is under things that this all comes under the theme of what is being preserved in Northborough today. So I highlighted the Community Preservation Act because without it, we wouldn't be doing anything. So I explained a little bit about the act. I think I got my numbers right. I went online to see to make sure that that's was correct with the town. Highlighting, I underlined that sentence: without CPA funding, none of these projects would have occurred. I have a table of a summary of what projects which had a historic spin on them to date. And I also have an appendix of all of the historical preservation projects that were funded at town meeting. And then I highlighted a few. Of course, I got the Weston Mansion in there. Broke it down. I broke it down in 4 categories. The Weston Mansion, because that was a big one. Projects involving restoration and preservation of historic buildings is the next one. The burial grounds is the 3rd one. And the last one is digital records in town meeting records. So there's 2 tables. There's a table and an appendix. So this is the table. This is how I broke the table down in terms of the $3.1 million that were based on historical preservation funding from CPA. I think I got everything. The thing that surprised me when I looked at it is the town hall old high school restorations, $607,000 over 4 different requests. I knew of the request, but I never added them up. It was over 4 years. So this is restoration and renovations of the current town hall. I just didn't realize it was that kind of money, but you know, it was needed. So then there's the library restorations, town document preservation. So that's 4 different requests for town document preservation. I contacted Andy, the town clerk, and have him just send me a note of exactly what was done. And it's, I think I put it actually up above. It's the last one, D, preserving and digitizing old town hall vital records, birth, death, marriages, and town meeting records. This includes deacidifying the paper of documents, placing the records in archive quality Mylar sleeves, and binding them for a total of $118,000.
Oh, no.
So I'll be honest here, I would like 3 places to know about this type of an effort. I'd like the Historical Society to know about this kind of funding for preservation of documents, the Unitarian Church and Trinity Church, because they probably have some really old documents that should be preserved properly. And last appendix, this is all of the historic preservation requests for CPA funding at town meeting.
Wow.
When you put the list together, it's pretty eye-opening.
Did you put this all together?
Yeah, I
Norm?
pulled it out of I've been poking around with this for a couple of years, so it's really going back to some stuff I had. But and all of this stuff is online. You just have to go to the archives of the town meeting, and they're all there. And you cut and paste them out. It's, if you know where to look, it's pretty straightforward. But because it's so extensive, I figured, you know what, let's drop that in as an appendix. That's pretty impressive what the town's been doing.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Oh, it's incredible.
About 3 years ago, just to put this in perspective, about 3 years ago, I was at a meeting somewhere, and what had come up, someone wanted, I don't remember who I was with, but it was somebody that was interested in historical preservation. And their comment was, oh, the only thing CPA has been used for historic preservation is you guys are putting up some signs. This was before White Cliff was purchased, and I'm like, oh no, don't say that. There's $3 million of preservation going on here.
Wow.
We, as a commission, request mostly the signs. A lot of these were requested by other organizations, Town Hall and the like. So.
I was surprised to see that there are only 6 signs. It feels like we put up a lot more than that. But
where's it saying 6? No, those are 6 requests. So one request, so it's 6 different years. So one year we requested 3 signs. This year we requested 4 signs. So yeah, you have to.
Yeah, okay.
That's the number of requests, not the number.
Requests.
Yeah,
Right,
you're
got
right. Good eye. That's what I'm looking for. So that's the CPA one. I'm on the right track.
Yeah, I think this
Yeah.
is great.
All right, so we got one more to look at. Hey, I
Sounds
might
like
be able to get Leslie into the key topics, all of them.
Yay.
Oh, I didn't do that right. I was supposed to.
Hmm.
Shit, let me try this one more time. Well, let's see what we got here. That's that one. That's this one. All right. Now you should be looking at the Northborough Historical Society.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Of all the organizations in town that are preserving history, they're the ones that are doing it. So, especially if you've ever been in their archives. You got the museum, of course, but if you've ever been in their archives, it's all there. So I wanted to make sure we gave them some recognition, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what kind of information their involvement has been. Plus the booklets and the pamphlets that they've been writing. These, and what I've listed here are the newer ones. There's a ton of old ones. So for example, Millie, if you ever want to know anything about your home, ask Ellen Racine what's in the file on your house, and you will be shocked what's in the It's all paper articles, all kinds of stuff. So it's an unbelievable resource.
Are people allowed to go in there right now, or is it still closed?
It's COVID closed,
Yeah.
but the way it works is you contact either Ellen or Kathy Pierce, the historian, and you ask them what you're looking for, and they can pull a file and tell you what's in it, or they can let you borrow the file.
Okay.
Sign it out. So they're very good with that. On a side note, with something that came up about it a couple months ago, and I did not realize that, both the Historical Commission and the Historic District Commission were in existence in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Here's Brian. Brian Smith was on the Historic District Commission back in the early 80s, right, Brian?
Yeah.
I found an article that you were putting up a big stink on something in the historic district. I'm going to find that and send that around. Back in '84.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it's the new duplex that was built in the historic district. Mr. Smith was critical of some early designs, and so I heard that all of the archives that the town had from all of the meetings back in that time frame were donated to the Historical Society. I contacted Ellen. I said, I hear a rumor you've got the files from the Historical Commission and District Commission from the 60s through the 80s. She says, oh yeah. He says, can I borrow them? She says, sure. So I got this box, it's like a box the size you get your paper in, with all these 3-ring binders, all these 2x2 slides from the society. The society gave me the ones on the Historical Commission and the Historic District Commission, because there were 2 separate commissions at the time. One 3-ring binder is all of the meeting minutes of all of those 2 groups for about 15 years.
Wow.
Another 3-ring binder is all of the communications that they had, outside communications that involve requests for information or comments from the Historical Commission. Now I'm going to give you 2 that jumped out at me. I'm working on putting that stuff together. So you know where the Assabet River goes? You cross the Assabet River when you go into Westboro on Route 135.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It also crosses, if you take a right, it's Davis Ave, and Davis Ave also crosses the Assabet River.
Yep.
Back in the late 70s, that bridge needed repair. Northborough Historic Commission and the Westboro Historic Commission decided that they were going to get quotes on building a covered bridge.
Ah.
I have the quotes for the covered bridge. I haven't found out why they decided not to install a covered bridge. But that was pretty creative thinking. They also have, so they were getting, just like we get now, you know, there's some developer doing some project, they need input for certain things. They had a request from the LaCava family who were owned White Cliffs at the time. The LaCava family wanted to build a motel on the property of White Cliffs. And the Historic Commission sent a very polite letter recommending they don't do that. And they didn't. So I don't know if it's because of that or some other finances, but the Historical Society, the information that they have is it's almost mind-boggling. So I don't know if I've done them justice in just 2 paragraphs, but the most important thing I wanted to get out of here, and it's going to come up again, is, and I have some, where is it here? And then the other section that I'm writing, so I'll give you a heads up on the other sections I'm writing so you can look forward to it next month. Back in the late 60s, the Historical Society was really frustrated that all of these old homes were being torn down and there was nothing they could do about it. They approached the Massachusetts Historical Commission to find out, can they and how would they set up a historic commission to start to protect these old homes? So they were the driver for the initial historical commission back in 1969. And they were, the society members were a big active group during that time period for the commission. I don't know exactly why, but for some reason in the mid 80s, both of those organizations kind of went defunct and weren't active at all. In 2002, Bob Ellis, who used to be the historian, he's still around. Bob Ellis is the historian for the Historical Society. He wrote a letter to the town administrator at the time, and the Massachusetts Historical Commission, wrote a letter in 2002 asking how do we revive the Historical Commission. And a big reason for that is because with CPA possibly coming down the pipe, they needed a Historical Commission. So Bob Ellis drove that. And I know, Leslie, you were involved back in that time to get the CPA started and getting a historic commission back up and running again.
Well, I wasn't involved with the Historic Commission, but yeah, I was involved with the adoption of the CPA.
CPA. So
Yeah.
in both cases, the Historical Society was a key part of our existence. And I never knew that until I found these old files. So,
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is all great, but I'm going to have to go. I'm really sorry.
no, we're done on
Oh.
this. You'll miss the other. We'll give you the assignments later. Don't worry, Leslie. Thank you for staying.
All right, thanks. Sorry, I got to go.
Be
Bye,
careful with all
Leslie.
that drinking with your buddies.
I'll wait for another 40 years. Yeah.
Bye-bye, Leslie.
Bye-bye.
So again, you know, long story short, if you look at this and you see something's missing or I should expand on it, just let me know. I don't have a problem doing that.
No, it looks great.
Yeah.
The next thing you'll be seeing from me is the stuff dealing with the history of the Historical Commission, the old commission and the new one, and the history of the Historic District Commission, the old Historic District Commission and the new one. That's what I'm working on right now, just going through those old files, picking up gems. All right, so we got that part done. I asked Brian Swanson to write some letters of appreciation for 4 properties, and thank you, Brian, for doing them.
Welcome.
I haven't sent them in yet because my printer's not working, and I need to print out. I want to also print out the macros data on those houses. So if I can get if I can fix my printer, that's good. If I have to buy a new one, that's not so good, but we'll do it. So there were 4 properties that we highlighted: 110 Howard Street, 130 South Street, 334 Church Street, and 239 Crawford Street. So Brian sent me the letters and I just have to get them out. Probably in a month or 2, Brian, I'm going to send you a list of new owners of antiques in Northborough. Turns out if you go to Zillow or a couple of those other sites, you can put in the town of Northborough and what sales have occurred over the last 3 years, and they all pop up. And then you just kind of look at the houses and say, okay, this one's definitely an old one and these are not. So I think we could have a half a dozen to 10 houses over the last 3 years that are now owned by new owners. But you won't see that for a while.
Okay.
Tom, where are you in terms of becoming an official alternate? You know if you have your interview scheduled yet?
They said June.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. All right, so that'll work. And I talked to someone, I don't know if you know, an Amanda DeRosia Millette. She's Paul DeRosia's daughter. I talked to her and she's interested in also becoming an alternate. So I think she was going to watch us tonight. If she couldn't watch us tonight, she'll watch the tape delay. But it'd be good to have Amanda on, and she's always been interested in history. So we'll fill a few more of those alternate slots while we can get more input on some of this.
Norm, can I ask you about, sorry to interrupt, but the writings of the society writings, a few examples, would you consider including books that they contributed to? They didn't write themselves, but there is this great Northborough, A Town and Its People book that heavily relied on the information from both.
Is that the blue hardcover?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. In fact, there's that book, and there are other books that were heavily relied upon, some other history books that are based out of the historical archives. That's a good idea. I never even thought of that.
Yeah, that's a great book, and I know that many of the people on the society helped with it.
Yeah.
I got a list of the books that I found.
Oh, Brian, if you could send that to me, that would be really good.
Yep.
Millie, I don't think you realized it, but you led imperfectly for my next topic.
Oh.
Let me get rid of this save screen stuff here. All right. So back in 1921, the History of Northborough book was written by Josiah Kent. He was Reverend Josiah Kent. So the book's out of print. It's been out of print for a long time. You can get a copy in the library. You might be able to take it out, maybe not. But you can buy it on Amazon. They just make Xerox copies of it. So I bought this book from Amazon.
Whoa.
It's all backwards, right? I can't. It's like a mirror image.
No, we can read
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
This book is available on Amazon. It's
Wow.
$20. It's my Bible. It's much more useful to me than the Mulligan book, which is the blue book.
Mhm.
It's 530 pages. I went online. I bought this about 4 years ago. So I went online. It cost $20. Now, we still have money left in our budget. Remember, we got a $500, and I think we spent about $200. So we got a balance due. I'm wondering it's really something that we should all be aware of, and it's an interesting read. I'm wondering if it makes sense that we buy all the members of this commission that book. So
I have it.
You have it? You
Yeah.
have a real book or a copy?
I have a
Copy.
real book.
Oh my God.
Oh, well, that's a
Wow.
unique.
Yeah.
So you don't need one, but I really recommend having this on your shelf to look through. And for $20, even if I bought 10, it's $200. We have it in our budget. It's the end of the year. If we put the order in soon, we can put it toward funding. As long as we get the bills in early June, we can cover it with this year's money that's left over. So I'm looking to see if that's something you should do or even can do.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we buy the book for us.
Is there a second?
Second.
That was you, Brian?
Yep.
Okay. Does Do we want to do that? We'll do a roll call vote since it's an expense. So it's $20 by,
How about this one?
I don't want one.
oh, I've got, which one is that?
It's Kent.
Yeah, that's the same book.
I can't.
That's how
Yeah.
thick is it? Yeah, that's the exact same book.
Wow.
It comes with different covers depending on the day of the week, I think.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So Tom thinks it's a good idea. Brian has a copy. Brian Smith has a
I
copy.
can't
have-
vote,
Yeah.
but I encourage you to vote for it.
All
Yeah,
right. So I would like to buy 10 copies because some people like Julianne are very dedicated to us and we might have a few more alternates and I think it's good to have them handy.
Yeah.
Everybody. So we have a motion. We have a second. I can do the roll call vote. I have to do it actually. So why don't I do that? Mr. DeShano,
Yes,
Leslie's not here, but that's okay. Bruce. Do you think it's a good investment, Bruce?
Yes. I do.
Mr. Smith,
I have one.
but you want us to vote, you want to vote for us to all have one?
Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
for all of them.
Mr. Swanson,
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
All right. So I will order them up tomorrow and I don't know what the delivery time is on it, but I'm hoping to get it in so we can pay for them in this year's budget.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. I'm excited.
It's an interesting read. That's my go-to book for all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
It makes you look smart when you're really not. You just cheating. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up while we're all together? I spoke the whole time tonight. Sorry about that.
Did I mention something?
Of course.
Since we're talking about books, there's a series published in England called the Pesner Architectural Guides, and they go through and they do all the different townships and all the historic structures, but they always start with a short introduction about the geology of the place
Huh.
and what forces shaped it. And we have a pretty elaborate system of streams and ponds and rock formations. And that, of course, contributed to all the wall making that shaped our farms, delineated the farms. So I've always enjoyed getting a geographic introduction to the place that you're looking at or visiting. And I think it might be something you consider in the document you're working on.
That's a good idea, Tom. To
You
be honest-
assigning it to me?
No. All I have to do is go to the master plan. I forget what chapter. I'll copy
Huh.
paste it, cut it right out and slop it in. It's done.
Glacial till and all of.
Yeah, it's all in it. My recollection of the master plan has a good section about the geography and geology of the town. And I'll start with that and then we can see what's missing and add to
Yeah,
it.
I'll look at that. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was there.
Yeah, it's in there and I think it's under Conservation Commission stuff. At the beginning of it, it has a lot of not historic, but background information.
Right.
And my recollection is it's in there. So that's an easy one, I hope.
Okay, good.
Anybody else? Hi, Julianne.
Hi, I just have a question, talking about the document that we're working on. And this may be somewhere else, and so it may just be a foolish question, but the Northborough was a lot of farms at one point. Are those outlined anywhere, or is I know Northgate was part of 2 farms maybe, and how do we document that and identify where those farms were, or is it even not of interest?
It is of interest. You may have I have an email into the Conservation Commission to ask them about what they've done for preservation of lands, and some of them are farm preservations today. So we could start with that and then maybe fill in the gaps where some of these other farms are no longer in existence because they were developed into housing complexes, or actually industrial complexes. Someplace there's also the industrial complexes used to be old farms. Like with Raytheon, well, not Raytheon anymore, with is that Solomon Pond? Yeah, by Solomon Pond, where the National Grid is, that was a huge farm. And over up on that nice place you guys are talking about a lot on Bartlett Street, that development area, there's foundations of an old farm there. So we could add in some of that, but I wanted to get the Conservation Commission in to let me know what are they protecting just outright as land. But yeah, that's a good idea, Julianne. And when we start working on it, we can work some details into that.
Okay, thanks.
No,
And
that's
I
good.
have one more thought.
Yeah, you
We're all
can.
getting this book. Maybe we could like divide it into sections and like just do a little book club at every meeting.
Northborough trivia.
Yeah.
Oh, we can do that. Let's do that.
All right. All right.
Oh yeah,
Alright.
quiz.
Great idea, Julianne.
Hey, Norm, can I add one thing?
Of course.
Since we're talking about it? I think Julianne brought up a good point. And circling back with what Tom said earlier, should we have a section describing what features or what facets of architecture, like housing and aspects of historical property that we should be particularly interested in describing? Like, are there different styles, different frontage of how buildings were built back then that qualify as something unique and something we want to preserve? Should there be a discussion about those kind of architectural details in our document? It seems like to me those are the kind of the key things that we should be aware of, and perhaps have some examples in Northborough where those different features, general features, are actually observed.
Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, there's some great examples of the different framing methods. Like we talked about the Livermore House and Dr. Ball's house on Main Street. They're, timber frames using, king posts and queen posts and that kind of thing. The Livermore farm is unique, and they use the species of wood that was on the site to do the timber frame. So it wasn't all pine or all oak. We have apple and oak and chestnut. We have a mixture, a hybrid frame, which is unusual.
Now, how do you know that? Were you involved with their restoration a few years back?
Yes, restored the house and the carriage house. With,
I didn't realize that. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's some
the
insider
Zaymore
info.
family, yeah. So he took it all apart and put it back together again.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know you were involved with that, because that's a beautiful home.
Where is that one?
it's 500 Green Street. Yeah,
Well, you gotta go all the way
1730.
up the hill and keep going and keep going. It's not too far from Julianne's house.
Right.
I think I know where it is. Is it one where you round the bend? a
Yep,
little
dark
bit?
red.
Yeah, it's a big, it's a nice, it's a bright red, reddish color.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
it is absolutely gorgeous. Wow.
And that front entry we borrowed from the Ford Museum in Michigan. It was on one of his collected houses from the 18th century, and we used that as inspiration. And
Wow.
Wow. And that would definitely be worth highlighting, is when a restoration is done thoroughly, because they're not always done that way.
yeah,
Mhm.
they did a beautiful job.
Wow.
But, when they restored the Gale store, Habitat for Humanity,
Yes.
that was kind of a hybrid timber frame, and the cross-sectional bents were every 20 feet, which is ridiculously long spans, but
Yeah.
the timbers were 10 by 16. Then the house next to it was maybe 30 years later, and it was balloon framed, where the
Oh, yeah,
studs
dude.
went from the foundation all the way up to the rafter.
Yeah.
So you got a real variety in town.
Yeah, I think your idea, Tom and Mike, would be great to build on documenting that, because it's nowhere. It's, this is a good place to put this kind of information. I mean, originally when we started this preservation plan, it was going to be 5 pages. And we pretty much started with the preservation plan. We got to work out the details on that. But certainly as I get into it, it's like, we really should start documenting things that nobody knows. Just put it down on paper so down the road a piece, somebody can pull this out and say, oh, okay. And it should be a useful document for all kinds of reasons down the road.
Mm-hmm.
It turned into a bigger project than I thought, but I think I really feel like I'm spending good time on it. I'm not wasting my time at all.
I was kind of also sort of thinking along the line of like there's different eras of architectural progress that I've seen described in other restoration documents. Like you start with early colonial, and you get into the Greek revival, and then you get into all these different architectural details. And I guess what I was wondering is if we could describe those kind of progression of architectural progress, and then link back to existing houses that show examples of that kind of architect from those eras. I think would be a nice link to a lot of what Tom's talking about, and then also kind of bring back for me the reason why we're here, which is to try to preserve a lot of that different architectural features of these properties. And so I just think it's an important aspect that should be described and if possible, highlighted with examples.
Here, here.
All right. Any other thoughts about what we should be considering for anything? I mean, keep in the back of your mind, CPA funding requests usually are due in November. If we need quotes and estimates on projects, and they sometimes take a while, believe it or not, November is not that far away for these kinds of ideas. So I know one thought we had, certainly with Mike was the, I always say agricultural, and it's the archaeological evaluation of the town, which is, if you want to pursue that, I think in June we should really start talking about it. When I went to the Brigham Street Cemetery where they installed a new sign, much to my surprise, a lot of those trees are now dead. And I don't know if it's caterpillar. I don't know what's causing it. This was about a month ago, and I contacted DPW, and he says, you might have a problem here because we don't want a bunch of dead trees there. So I said, CPA funds can be used for beautification of the cemetery. So if you're going to take, we're talking lots of trees, not all of them. The pines are fine. It seems to be the hardwoods. And I said, should we consider CPA funding for something like that? So I just let that little bug go into his ear in case, because the DPW has funding to remove trees, but not projects to remove trees. They'll take down one that's blocking, falls in a road, but not. So that might be something else. And we have somewhere next month to look at. We have a list of CPA ideas that are always sitting out there. We should probably just review it and say, should we change our priorities? Is this a good year? Do we skip a year? Whatever.
I'm curious, Norm, why you said pines are fine, because I was kind of thinking pines are not fine. They're huge, and they tend to come down in storms.
Oh, right, but when I meant, but the pines are not dead. These other ones are dead. There's no.
Because I was thinking maybe
walk by them again, but there's the branches are falling off. There's no sign of life in the trees.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know if caterpillars good at them, but and it's not 2 or 3 trees. It's quite a bit. So there might be a request from DPW, but certainly, and there might be some tricks working on taking out those trees in a area that.
I was thinking that some of those giant pine trees at I think it's the Howard Street Cemetery that are right in back of your house.
Oh, yeah.
Are so big, and there's so many of them that to me, it's kind of like, it seems like they're inevitable, they're going to damage the graves.
Well, they did. One in this winter crushed one of the graves we had inventoried.
Well, I'm thinking
Well-
subsurface too, because those roots must be just everywhere. And I was thinking it would be a good idea to either take them down or certainly thin them out so we can, preserve the actual graves themselves.
So I'm writing down, tree removal at burial grounds. And we'll-
Yeah, I mean,
If
it
that
seems
makes-
to me as though those pines grow so quick and they get so huge that the root system underneath must be impacting the graves that are below there. I don't know the details of if that happens, but it seems like it would.
I don't know if I can find it. There's a woman who passed away about 5 years ago in town. She was very active in all parts of the community. I just can't remember her name, but they interviewed her. There's a video somewhere that someone will put online where she was interviewed in Betty Tatro. They interviewed Betty Tatro, and she talked about the hurricane of 1938 and all of the trees that were ripped up at the cemetery behind the church and all of the bodies in the bones that came up with the trees.
Ooh,
It was pretty gruesome. So there might be a reason to take more trees down.
I would certainly vote for that because I think we should try to preserve those graves, and letting these enormous trees grow doesn't seem consistent with that for me.
I think it's a good idea to next June, in the next meeting when we start discussing options for CPA, let's tune in a little bit and see if we can get see what the DPW interest might be.
Hmm.
That's a good idea, Mike. Anything else we want to talk about? Well, we can stay here the rest of the night looking at each other.
No,
Unless,
I move to adjourn.
I
second.
second.
I will give it to Millie. He was quick. He was
Yep.
anxious. All right, roll call vote time. This is a motion to adjourn. Mike,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Swanson,
Yes.
Millie.
Yes.
I vote yes.